Good morning, 5-star. I can't believe it is July 21st already. Summer's flying by, right?
It is.
Yeah, it's going fast. So today we are here with Brennan, and she is from Star Title. And welcome, Brennan. And we want to talk to you about a topic that I think is very important to all of us to understand. And we're going to talk about the ULTA statement. We also call it the HUD, right?
Yep.
And so, and welcome, Tracy. Tracy's here too. So
Thank you.
I was caught all up in summer. So
That's good.
it's just going so fast, but it's nice and it's hot. So anyway, we are going to talk with Brennan today and just do an overview of what that ULTA statement looks like, what it means. And I think you're going to get a lot of really great information that maybe you did or didn't understand before. So Brennan, go ahead and say hi.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Brennan. I work in the Muskegon office for Star Title. I'm happy to be here with you guys this morning. If you have any questions, I can try to pay attention to the chat box if that's enabled, or maybe Kim and Tracy can help me answer those questions when they come up.
Good. We're really looking for our agents to become a pro in reading this statement. And I remember when I was a new agent. We were all new agents at one time, and it's daunting. So remove all of the the anxiety that people might have when they get that, like, what am I supposed to do with this? So that's good.
Yeah, it's great. So where do we want to start, Brennan? Do you want to share your screen? So
yeah,
as we talk,
yeah, that'd be great.
Go through it. Okay.
Yeah, I will do that.
So while she's doing that, we can talk about, typically you're going to get two. So say it's ready where it's closing day, right? Or day before closing day. And you're going to hear from Star Title and they're going to say, here's your preliminary numbers. Please review. Let me know if everything looks accurate, right?
Yep.
Before we send it over to our client. And so you're going to get one for a seller and one for a buyer. Typically, we see both, even though I may only represent the buyer. Do you still do it that way, Brennan? You give us both or just ours? Because I often see both.
I give both after closing. Yeah. So
No, but I mean prior. Typically, they're both there and I have to separate them before I send it over to say I have the buyer. I'm not going to send them the seller statement. I typically get both. Tracy, do you see both?
Yeah, sometimes I get both, not always, and sometimes it's a combined statement too. So not to confuse everybody.
Yeah, I typically just send whatever side you have.
Okay.
In the beginning, and then once they're closed, I'll send you a seller and buyer signed, whichever side you don't have. You'll have both in the end, but I usually just send the side that you have in the beginning to review the statement to make sure everything looks good.
Okay. Yep. And often we do, what are we looking for? Sometimes they'll send us the seller side so we can double check the commission, right? To make sure that looks right.
Yeah.
One common thing is to watch for that. I'm just kind of talking here till you tell us you're ready.
I'm ready whenever, but
Oh.
I'm ready to share my screen. But yeah, the common things that we like, especially on the seller side, is any invoices that have to be paid. We have access to your dot loop, so we can, anything that's in there we have access to, but sometimes they're not always in there. So double check any invoices that we have on there, make sure that we have all of them. Commission, broker fee, concessions are really important. Make sure the concessions are either correct or they might be lowered if you're that lucky person. But make sure that's correct. And then, I like to say I'm perfect, but make sure the sales price is correct too these days with, all the escalation clauses and all that good stuff. So I think those are the main things to look for. Lender fees are lender fees and they don't really change, but if you want to make sure that if that the buyers can have an escrow account set up, make sure those numbers are there. So that's really important. So I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Beautiful.
So I'm hoping everybody can see this okay. I did cut out names and addresses so that information is not here, but we have the bulk of this. So if it's too small, is it too small or is it?
Looks great.
Okay. All right. So this one happens to be a combined statement. I figured that would be the easiest way to represent all the numbers. So this top line obviously was the sales price of the property. And then the next line down is the earnest money deposit. So that's under credit on the buyer side. And then the wonderful prorations for taxes. So obviously you'll see these moving around a little bit. Sometimes there's 2 debits and 2 credits, or sometimes 1 debit and 1 credit. After July 1st, taxes become due, and those are going to be paid up by the seller because the seller is the owner of the property when the summer taxes come out. So this happened to close after July 1. So what we do is we take the estimated tax amount due. We do a tax proration for the buyer's debit from the day of close to the beginning of the year. And this is the credit that the buyer will be giving to the seller for the time that they owned the property for that year. So you see credit on seller side and debit on buyer side. And then for the winter taxes, in this case, since the buyers will be paying the winter taxes out of their escrow account, most likely, the seller is going to be crediting the buyer from the first of the year until the close date, so the time the seller owned the property, for those winter taxes. So we have a debit on the seller side, credit on the buyer side. Next line item is for payoffs. So on this one, the seller did have a current mortgage. So we show the payoff here. Sometimes if the payoff isn't out far enough for interest, you'll see a little section in here adding some per diem days to make sure that we aren't shorted on sending out a payoff. If there's any overpayment, that will come back to the seller, usually approximately 30 days after close. Any overages for interest and anything left in an escrow account. And then moving along, we have our commissions. So we have the commission to, in this case, eXp Realty, and then the commission to 5 Star, and the broker fee for the listing agent here, all debited to the seller. Next line down, we have the seller's agent broker admin fee of $395 debited to the buyer. The next section on Star Title statements are any loan amounts. So I'm going to scroll up a little bit just so you guys can see the headers. This column here on the far left of each side, it says POC, that stands for paid outside of closing. So this first fee here is the appraisal fee. This buyer paid $400 outside of close towards the appraisal, and then there was an additional $100 left, so that was wrapped into their loan amount. And then we have the credit report fee. So for them to run their credit, that's $27.75. Sometimes if your buyer is using a broker to help assist with the loan process, you'll see this paid to whoever the mortgage broker is because they run all of that initial stuff in the beginning. And then the next line item we have is property tax status research fee. So this is for the lender to run a report to check on the property taxes. Have they been paid? Are they delinquent? How much are they, so that we can estimate what amount we need to put into the escrow account. Next line item down is the processing fee. So as most of you guys probably know, every lender has different fees that they charge that come to them. Lake Michigan Credit Union happens to have a processing fee of $395. They also have their underwriting fee of $495, which is one of the lower ones that I see. I've seen underwriting fees up to $2,000, which is a little bit high in my opinion, but it's kind of nice. Like Michigan Credit Union always keeps theirs pretty low. Underwriting fee is, if you don't know what underwriting fee is, that is for the underwriting department, for them to go through all of the buyer's paperwork, you know, their credit report, assets, debts, to make sure they can afford the house, 1, and 2, to make sure they have everything they need to move forward with the loan. And then a flood cert, this is usually pretty cheap. I've not seen any over $20. That's just to make sure that the home's not located in a flood hazard zone so that the buyers don't have to pay for flood hazard insurance. And then we have prepaid interest. So this is calculated from the date of close to the beginning of the next month to make sure that the prepaid interest or the interest for that month is all taken care of and they're not behind on the interest. The per day is dependent on the loan amount and the term of the loan. So they pay in advance $485.83 to cover for the rest of this month because they're not going to make their first loan payment until usually the following month. And then we have our homeowners insurance premium. So this top one is how much their homeowners insurance for the first year is upfront, which happens to be $733. And then this next one is what's going to go into their escrow account, homeowners insurance $61.08 per month. So they take the amount due, divide it into 12. And then since we only have to pay 4 months, this is the total here. Property taxes, same thing. They take the estimated amount divided by 12. They're only paying 3 months up front to get their escrow account caught up. So that is for, and sometimes lenders will separate them city and county. Sometimes they combine them into one, just depends on the lender. So you might see this broken out into city and county, or if they just combine it into one for property taxes.
Right. And the agent should know, really, don't you think, Brennan, in the community that they're writing in, whether they're paid in advance or in arrears, because that kind of jumps around depending on where we are in the state of Michigan.
Yeah, locally here in Muskegon, they're all paid in the arrears, but some are different. So, you know, if I have a closing that's maybe a bail away, but it's in a up north county, I might not know just off the top of my head. So, you know, it's helpful to know that, but I can always, you know, call the township or the city and figure it out before close. But it is always helpful to know that information. And then in the new loan section, the last item we have here is the aggregate adjustment. And this number here is always going to be a negative amount. It is to ensure that the escrow account is not overfunded. I don't know the calculation that lenders use to get this number. They're all different. I've seen really big numbers up to, well, really big, up to negative 800. And I actually just had one the other day that was negative 2 cents. So I'm not entirely sure how this is calculated. I did ask Kevin, who works in our Portage office. He used to be a loan officer, and he told me when he was a loan officer, he still didn't understand how lenders came up with this number. I was hoping to give you guys a better explanation than that, but that's the best I have.
That's okay. But, you know, can you scroll back up a little bit towards the top? So when you look at the part of the disclosure from the top, those things are things that we're really more involved in terms of the, you know, from the title side and from the real estate side. And when you move into that new loan section that you just so nicely went through for us, I think that the way to explain that to the buyer would be that these are simply mostly pass-throughs from the lender that were probably an estimate on their loan disclosure, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And they probably even estimated their taxes on there as well. But the part at the top is literally what the taxes are.
Yeah. So in this case, because the summer taxes had already been out, we had new millage rates and new taxable values and all of that good stuff. So the summer taxes on this one are exact. However, the county were an estimate because we don't have the county taxes for this year yet out. So that's an estimate based on the new taxable value for 2022 and the millage rates.
Yep. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. Next section here, we have title charges. So obviously these differ a little bit between title company. However, the title insurances are regulated. So those you won't see a big variance in. Those are regulated by all of the title insurance companies. So on the buyer side, we have lender's title insurance. That was $605. And then on the seller side, because the seller always pays for owner's title insurance, is the $998. And there's a bunch of blank ones here. And then we have a recording processing fee of $36 that'll always be charged at Star Title if you have a buyer side. That is the cost for us to e-record any documents. So the mortgage, the deed, if there's a certificate of trust or death certificate that has to be recorded. So that's the fee that, you know, we get charged for those e-recordings. And then our settlement fee is $300. So you'll see that that's on buyer and seller side for us is $300. If it's a cash deal, it's $150 on each side. So a total of $300 instead of $600. And a refi is $150 as well, just so you guys all have that piece of information. And then we have a $25 courier fee. We do have to overnight documents back to the lender. So that covers that fee for the overnighting of documents. Sometimes they have to go a couple places. So that is why that charge is there. The seller closed with TransNation. So TransNation charged to their seller a courier fee of $30 for the transfer of documents between title companies, and maybe they wanted a copy overnighted to them. I'm not 100% sure, but that's my guess. TransNation's closing fee is $325 charged to the seller. And then this seller, because they had a payoff, we have to wire out that payoff. So they gave us a $25 chart or a fee check, whatever, for the wire, because obviously everything costs money to send out a wire these days. So $25 to send out the wire. And then the next section here is transfer taxes and recordings. So the seller always pays the transfer taxes on the deed. So that's what this 137 here is for the county deed, and the 937.50 is for the state. So they get their portion. And then we have the recording fee of $30 and $30 for the mortgage and the deed. Anything in the Muskegon County that you're recording is $30. And then to record a deed, coming with that, a warranty deed is a $5 tax cert fee. That's their fee to run a tax search to make sure that they can record the warranty deed because taxes have been paid in full. There are delinquent taxes. They will not record a new warranty deed. They have to be paid. And then here at the bottom, as I mentioned earlier, since summer taxes are released, the seller is responsible for paying that summer tax bill. So we have that total here. And then always we make sure that any current water, sewer bills, garbage bills, anything like that are paid at close. So there is a final current water sewer bill here that we paid out. So on the seller side, the proceeds here is this $69,175.40. And from the borrower, we collected the check of $7,325.34.
Very simple.
That's
right?
the end of it.
Very straightforward.
Well,
Yes.
I think I learned one thing in this, and that was that the closing fee is cheaper with Star Title
Yes.
than that other title company that was named in this example. So, no, that was excellent. That was excellent.
Yes. I think it's really important for agents to understand we should be reviewing this with our buyer or seller, and also at least understanding it so that when they come to us and ask us that we are knowledgeable about both title work and this final ULTA statement. Of course, if there are questions, we can go to Star Title and we can get help. But I think it's really important, as Tracy always says, be the pro, that we understand this, and how often do we not really look at it? Like Tracy pointed out, I don't look at the loan information because I don't know what that is typically, right? But I do look at the rest of the information and make sure, like, so an example, I closed on a lake property a month ago, and I knew that there were some outstanding association fees. I wanted to make sure that that made it to that final statement. Another tip that I wanted to mention is I always write everything on the closing file checklist. So for instance, maybe the house started at 230, but then we went through inspections, and then we got a credit because the home needed some repairs. So now they're paying $225. I always keep my original price there, and then I'll do slash new price $225 or final price, anything to make it easier on Star Title to be able to understand. And I'll write on there, invoice be paid to the well company, paid by seller. Like Brennan was saying, label your addendums. And then I try to make sure everything is on the closing file checklist, just so that makes their job a little bit easier and they're not having to guess. And we're not having to go back at the closing and rerun numbers or change something, right? That's always really helpful.
It's also going to become a great cheat sheet for you to refer back to when you get your closing statement, right? You're comparing it to what you agreed upon. Say you agreed after inspections and after and purchase agreement is signed, it's in the loop, Star Title has been ordered, and now after inspections you gave a home warranty and you've ordered the home warranty and the invoice is in your loop, but guess what? You never shared that with Star Title. You didn't tell them that there was a $495 home warranty. So when you get your closing statement, it's not on there. But if it's on your checklist, you're going to go, uh-oh, I missed the mark here. And then you can share it with Star Title and they can then add it and it doesn't get missed because you're going to have to pay for it likely if you don't get it on that statement. If your $295 broker transaction fee is not on there, I will tell you, you will do that one time.
Yeah.
And you will pay it one time. And then you will remember to check every single time that is included in your closing statement.
Right. All good words of advice.
Yeah.
So Brennan,
any final thoughts? Yeah. Sorry, Kim.
I was just glad to be here today to provide some education. I did send Emma a really good tool. She told me she was going to send it out or post it in 5-Star Connector. I don't know, something or another. But it is the difference between a standard policy and an Eagle policy, because we get nobody really ever asked me, but she said the question gets asked, how do you decide which one you want? And essentially it's just coverages and what coverages a standard policy provides versus an Eagle policy. Eagle policies are more expensive because they provide more coverage. So that help sheet that I sent to her is a really nice sheet. It breaks down, it's like a column thing where it says, this is what's covered with an Eagle, and this is what isn't covered with, like all the green boxes and stuff. So I don't do a whole lot of Eagle policies because I think maybe people don't know the difference and because they cost more. But I did send her that to send out to all of the agents just so that they had that handy. But I'm really glad that I'm here today with you guys, and we're always happy to help and bring on new agents and meet some new faces. So if there's anything that I can assist anybody with, please reach out and let me know. I would be more than happy to help.
Great. And if an agent has a new order for title, where do they send it, Brennan?
So the way the process works is you submit it to 5-Star for review. And then as long as that 5-Star BA knows that Star Title is closing it, which they would know on your closing checklist, they would know to add Star Title to your dot loop. Otherwise, you can always add us yourselves as well. So you want to add us to your team on your dot loop. The email is orders@startitlemi.com. So order with an S at the end. And then we get the invite and we pull in any useful information in there, which is usually most everything, but the purchase agreement, checklist, EMD, any invoices, addendums, we pull all of that into the file, and then we start the title search. You'll know when a file has been ordered and entered into our system. You'll get an email from us saying, hey, thanks for the order. We started your title work. Thanks for choosing Star Title. If you're on the buyer side, we'll ask for any lender information. If you didn't already provide it to us, like a pre-approval sheet or something that might be in dot loop. And then if you're on the seller side, we'll usually send a payoff authorization form right out the gates, even though we don't know if there's a payoff yet or not, because sometimes they can take a while for sellers to get them signed. So but you'll know right away when your order's entered. You'll get that email from us. And then if we have any follow-up, we'll communicate with you via email or phone.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well,
And
we
the benefit to adding us as your team is we can access the dot loop at all times. That way, anytime there's an addendum signed or an invoice added, you don't have to just share it with us via email. It's just already there so we can see it. So
yeah, there's a
Great.
lot of advantages to working with Star Title A. They're very efficient. They're very good. For many of us, I can go right over there and talk to Kevin, or at Stadium, I can walk in and talk to Kelly. And it's just really important to have that relationship so that when I do need something, I have a pro that I can go to. And then also just all the things that you learned here today, they're just very efficient. They can help you understand, but most of all, they do really good work. They're often very fun to work with. Kevin keeps us laughing around here often.
he's
And
a jokester.
yeah, he's the jokester. Yeah. And so just know that not only is your broker support team here, but also consider Star Title part of your team when it comes to title and understanding title and your final statements, and just consider them there, to help you just the same way that we are. So we really appreciate you being here. I think this is very, very helpful. Tracy,
Yeah.
any final thoughts?
I was just gonna say, I learned something today, Brennan. I have never added Star Title to my team, but effective today, I always share everything. I never thought to add them to the team. So from now on, my team will absolutely be adding Star Title to my team, because that's just
Okay,
gonna
so
be
let me ask you
easier.
a really quick logistic questions. I don't do either of those. Do the BAs? I just say, I
The
check Star
BAs do it.
Title.
Yeah,
Okay, I
the
just check
BAs
Star
will do
Title
it.
and
Okay.
it all rolls. It all
Okay.
rolls from there, right?
So,
Okay, just to be sure.
yeah, so if you, Tracy, look at any of your most recent loops and you scroll
Yep.
to the bottom, we're probably there. But
Okay.
it doesn't
Okay.
hurt to share it with us, because then we know in advance that there's something new there to look at. But we periodically check dot loops every couple of weeks. So
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. All right. Well, everyone have a good day today, and
Thank you,
enjoy.
Brennan.
There's plenty
yeah,
sunshine.
thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, you guys.
All right. Have a good day. See ya.
Thank you,
Bye,
you too.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.